And if you're sticking here around, I'm going to play this timer to let a couple people hop on. Stick around to find out how you can become the best sales pro ever.
And welcome back to all my sales professionals out there, to my coaches who might just be tuning in. We have a special treat because we have Moose from Coaching Sales with us today. And most importantly, guys, if you are someone who is either looking for their first sales gig or might even just be someone who's looking for sales professionals to work under them, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Moose.
Awesome. Guys, what's going on? I appreciate you guys having me. Sorry, my dog just started going nuts. If you hear her in the background, I apologize.
It's okay. No worries. No worries.
Literally during the intro, I was like, I'm going to go put her away, and now she's crying. That was probably a bad move.
That's all right. No worries, man. Well, guys, I want to introduce you, Moose, because I know for me personally, and I just want to appreciate and acknowledge you, you've been literally the bridge that's allowed me to live this remote sales pro lifestyle that I absolutely love.
Dude, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and for anyone out there like who's looking for like a sales gig or looking to get in this space, like I'm not kidding when I say like Coaching Sales and like Moose's team are the top guys in this space who are literally paving the path not only for people, but this whole industry that's being created, man. And man, I'm just gonna let you take it away and share your story and kind of what you guys are all about. Because you guys are killer when it comes to this stuff.
So what we're about at coachingsales.com, we've been doing this now for the last 3 years. When I say doing this, what we're actually doing is building out sales teams, right? So obviously you see a lot of people who are in recruitment now. You see a lot of people trying to do what we do with sales agency models. That's not what we do. We've been in this space of building out sales teams for the last 3 years. We market to small business owners who have proof of concept. We don't look for the newest business owner on the block and help them scale from 0 to infinity, right? We look for guys who are doing usually 30 to 150 grand a month. But the bottleneck that they face is that the business owner is stuck on sales calls all day, every day. They have proof of concept on their lead flow. They have strong cash flows, which supports the sales team. So we do a lot of filtering from the business owner side. And then when they hire us, the opposite side is true as well. We filter a lot on the salesperson side as well. So we look for guys with a proven track record in sales, like you, Larry. And then we look for them when they are making a transition in their career. We hire them into this industry. They can start off part-time, usually 20, 25 hours a week. And hopefully they will experience an opportunity cost and transition over full-time with us in a matter of 4, 8, 12 weeks and come on full-time into the space.
Awesome. I love that. And I want to also, like, Larry kind of hinted at it, but Larry, could you actually share, like, because I know the story, but can you share like what you're doing now and like how Moose and Coaching Sales like actually played a part in that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I don't even know if you know the full story, Moose, but like you caught me at like such an amazing time because I was actually an agency owner who was looking to transition full-time into the online sales advisor world. So
no kidding.
Yeah, I was just so frustrated with kind of where the market was headed, right? And honestly, I just noticed that I loved sales more so than like the fulfillment piece, right?
Yep.
And so when I came in contact with you, I was a frustrated agency owner. I was absolutely like not digging how much I wasn't really paying myself enough, right?
Yep.
And so I really found online sales as that avenue to, one, focus on what I love doing, but also partner up with other business owners that are absolutely monsters with great offers that they have. I saw it as a win-win. And so when I first reached out to you, I know we went kind of through that process, and we were kind of just going through and kind of understanding what each other's worlds look like. And it just clicked. It clicked for me because I got to the point where it was like, you got me on Sergio's offer at the time, and then now I'm on my offer with Greg Hickman and All Agency. And you guys just do such an amazing job with actually doing the things that a lot of sales pros don't really like see as the important piece, which is finding the right offer, like you mentioned, and having the right systems under you so that we can really just fly with what we do best, just selling.
Dude, and share your wins, bro. Share your wins from today, though.
Please do.
Dude, so first off, this is kind of like not necessarily happens all the time, but this is where I'm at right now. So I just broke my personal record. Actually got 4 enrollments today.
Holy hell.
41,000 this week. So this is actually my biggest week.
Damn, dude.
I would
that
not.
Gives me chills. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, and the thing is, it's possible because I'm on such a great offer. You connected me with Greg. And most important, like you saw that there was like, okay, cool. Like Larry has this is a level that Larry's on. This is an offer that is perfect for where his skill set is. Let's connect them. Let's get that right, like offer sales pro fit.
Yes.
And I've been working with him the past several months now, man. And it's the best offer that I've been selling forever. I love it.
That's awesome. I love to hear that, man. And stories from sales reps literally just gives me chills down my back. Like, it's the best thing that I could do. I mean, I've worked on the sales side of the industry. I love the sales side of the industry. I did it for 2 years, right? But then I came onto the recruitment side of the industry. And when I was able to help salespeople who are struggling or salespeople who are in a transition stage in their business, and they tell me that they're making $4 or $5 grand a week, $3 grand a week, right? The amount of lives that I get to impact from the salesperson side is so high. I love that. I love that. But what really impressed me about you, Larry, and this was almost, for those listening, this was almost a year ago now that we connected for the first time. Probably over a year.
Over a year. Yeah.
Over a year ago, which is crazy. And we still have a very close relationship, which is awesome.
Right.
Right. But when we connected for the first time, I did not know that you were an agency owner until just now. Usually, when people come out and tell me that they are an agency owner, that's a pretty strong indication that I'm going to NQ them because it shows that they don't want to be a salesperson, right? It shows that they want to be an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you need to know 3 things, right? You need to know how to sell. If you can't sell your own offer, then you can't be an entrepreneur.
Right.
You need to know how to scale. You need to know how to scale the business, and you need to know how to systemize it, right? Now, what happens is a lot of really strong salespeople, because they have that core foundation of sales, think that they want to be a business owner, but then they don't know the other 2.
Absolutely.
And they end up screwing themselves, right? What I go after are guys like you. You told me your background was from Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
I was like, man, Salesforce on a resume, any one of my clients is going to love that. Like, I can open my book of business to this guy. You were there for years. You generated millions of dollars in revenue. This guy is a home run, right? Now it's just about me playing the matchmaker side and being like, okay, what offer is going to support you and the level of income that you're trying to attain? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And can you talk a little bit more about that, Moose? Like that specifically of like, how should someone go about, like, so let's say that someone's not going through you, and maybe let's someone say that's not going through you, but they want to find the right gig. Like, how do you help people to determine like what's a good gig for them and a value add for the business owner, where it's like, oh, this actually makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And this is somewhere where I can grow. How do you really determine that?
Good question, dude. And I wish there was a simple answer for this. But it's a pretty complex answer, right? If you look at our interview process, we do have a 4-tier interview process, right? So the first tier is I do wait for guys to reach out to me multiple times, right? Usually they reach out to me in my messenger. If they hit me once, that's usually not a strong enough indication. I'll wait for them to hit me times, right? From there, we get onto a conversation if they qualify through messenger to figure out can this guy actually have a conversation? Is he bullshitting me through Messenger? Like, what's actually going on, right? But then from there, the third step, I get a Tony Robbins disc assessment where I can take a look at your personality type, right? From there, I can match your personality type with one of my clients to figure out where you would ideally be the best fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's a big portion of it. I know what my clients are typically looking for in their salesperson. A lot of it, obviously, I try and go with a background. Like, to give you an idea, with Larry, your background in Salesforce is a very techie background, right? Greg's offer is a very techie offer, right?
Right.
So if I can match those two together, then that's amazing. But it's also very dependent on what offers I have available at the time. You know, so for the newest guy out there who's looking to figure out what's going to be a match, it might be hard for them to know what's going to be a match. You need to gather a sample size for yourself. You need to gather some experience so that you know what you want to sell. And I would say don't limit yourself to what you think your passions are going to be. I have a sales rep who is selling a advertising offer for carpet cleaners right now. But he made 10 grand in this first month. I wouldn't be extremely passionate about that, but he's making great money, so who cares? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think it's really interesting, like, that the third step before you make the match is like an actual personality assessment of them. Because I feel like a lot of, and this is just my own personal experience, but like a lot of people who are either just starting out in remote sales or are just starting out or like have reached the point where they're trying to grow their business more, they're just like, I need to find a sales rep who does like high ticket sales. And they're not even like, they've done a great job with sales themselves, you know, like, so I'm doing, and I kind of talked to you a little bit about this, but I do group coaching for like marketing coaching for this Fit Pro business program, right? This business coaching program. And some of the clients in there are really good at sales, and they've gotten really good at sales to the point where they have too many clients. They need to start outsourcing their sales, right? And so they're not 100% sure of like who to be looking for and where to even start to look for that. So maybe you could share a little bit about that, of like when a business owner reaches that point where they just physically don't have enough time to do the selling anymore. How should they be looking? What are the qualifying questions that they should be asking their sales reps before they hire someone?
It's such a volume play, right? And what we do in coaching sales, while we apologize for my dog. Can you guys hear
it? It adds that element of realism, like we're real people, you know.
I'm so sorry. She's like giving me the angry bark in the background now. But it's such a volume play, right? What we do at coaching sales, just to give you an idea of the numbers, we don't do anything magical, right? It's not like I'm in a laboratory building out the perfect salesperson, like, oh, here he comes, boom, there he is, right? It's because we literally interview 2,000 people per month, right? So the reason why we can generate the type of results that we can get for a business owner is every time a business owner comes on board with us, we interview 120 to 150 different candidates, on the top end 150 in a week time span. Okay?
Wow.
When we do that, we then reduce the list down to 4 to 6 candidates. Usually the number is 4 who we find qualified, and if we have 2 extras that we like that aren't as qualified, we'll throw them in there as bonus candidates, right?
Mm-hmm.
From there, we know our numbers like the back of our hand. The business owner should onboard 3 of them. The 3 of the 4 who've come through our entire sales process or our entire interview process, right? Out of 3, 1 takes another job offer the day after they get started with you. So what salespeople do, they're flakes, right? I'm a salesperson, so I'm not saying anything bad. It's just what we do, right?
I need it too. It happens.
Yeah, that's the personality of it. Yeah.
1 could come from another industry and not be able to deliver the offer like you had hoped. They might be a badass salesperson, but maybe not on your offer, right?
So key.
And 1 ends up being your rock star. So the reason why intelligent business owners hire us is because it reduces the hours of how they're going to recruit, right? They could spend 80 hours trying to recruit and do it themselves, or they could just hire me and my team to go out and do it for them.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. And what I noticed, something that I've noticed about you guys is, one, you have an amazing system for that recruitment acquisition, right? That's what allows you for that volume play, but also your guys' training for your sales guys.
Yeah.
The system there, one, allows people to ramp up to quota as soon as possible, but that nurturing that I get as a sales professional is what allows me to continue to hit my next goals and stay motivated, right?
Absolutely.
So could you talk a little bit about kind of like what the sales pro gets once they go through that system?
Yeah, what's really cool, right, is that there's a lot of business owners right now who sell sales training. And we sell sales training every here and there as well, which is totally cool, but it's not our core offering, right? But there's a lot of really expensive sales training that's out there in the marketplace. For our sales reps, we don't charge them for sales training, right? Because our clients pay for sales training for the reps. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's important for a sales rep to stay within KPI that they get that sales training, right? That they have someone to review their calls, just like you've had with us, right? We have someone who's listening to their calls. We have someone who's coaching you on what you've done right or done wrong on those calls. But we're hitting it from all aspects. We're not just working from your previous track record. Well, that's what gets your foot in the door. We're then working with you to improve your craft from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So for anyone that's on here watching the replay, you can go ahead, #live, #replay. We are on here with Moose Reed from coachingsales.com.
Moose's dog is crazy.
#Moose's dog is crazy. Drop that in the comments. And yeah, so if you want to find out more, Moose, so we're going to keep going, but I want to make sure that if people are hopping on, hopping off, where can people get in contact with you? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so the best way to reach out to me is specifically through Messenger, right? We do 99% of our applicants through Messenger. And just reach out. Now, where most people steer wrong with this is they'll be like, hey, Moose, I just came from XYZ training. I just came from XYZ certification. Right. And that's usually like, cool, I'm not going to reach back out to this. Right? You know, if you say, hey, Moose, I'm a cool dude and like I'm looking for a sales job, I'll be like, cool, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Right?
Yeah.
So reach out to me. Go ahead.
Go on. No, I'll let you finish.
You want to come back to it?
I want to come back to that because that's something that I want to talk about for sure.
So reach out to me through Messenger, but the other way to get a hold of me is through I hope you don't mind me saying this, but we have a group for sales professionals, 7-figure remote sales pros. Feel free to join that group. Feel free to join that group. We offer a lot of free training, etc. And then from there, you can also reach out to my recruitment team, which is Shannon Scheckler and Thomas Doing. I got to a point about 2 months ago where my capacity was just capped. You know, last week we hired 65 sales professionals. Last week, right? So we got to a point where I was just capped. We scaled out a team. Shannon and Tom, they will take as well care of you as I would have. So feel free to reach out to them as well.
Cool. I love that. And what was the name of the Facebook group again?
7-figure remote sales pros.
Cool. Perfect.
I mean,
join it. 7-figure remote sales group professionals.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So Moose, you kind of were talking about this, and this is something that in our group, we have a lot of members who have gone through traffic and funnels, inbound closer program, or the high ticket closers program, Dan Locke. And they're trying to get their first sales gig. They're trying to get a sales gig. They think it's going to be inbound. But I'd love for you to kind of talk about inbound versus outbound and also maybe how these people can get some on the field experience, on the court experience, and how they might be able to approach either you or just approach, coaches and consultants directly to be like, hey, I don't have a ton of experience. This is probably not the right way to go about it, but like just being very upfront and honest, being like, hey, this is where I'm at. I want to do a great job for you. How can we make something work? Right?
Yeah. I hate being the guy in the marketplace that's like, oh, I hate sales training. because that's not what it is. I don't hate sales training, right? If you've gone through traffic and funnels, certification program, that's cool. If you've gone through Dan Locke's program, that's cool. If you've invested in yourself, that's cool. I'm not here to trash sales training. That's not what I'm doing, right? What I'm saying is, I'll give you an example, right? I graduated from Florida State University with a degree in creative writing, right?
Fantastic.
My first job outside of college was wholesaling mutual funds at BlackRock, which is the world's largest asset manager. It's a $7 trillion company.
Right.
And when they recruited me, it was not because I had my creative writing degree at the top of my resume. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right,
Yeah, sounds right.
So the reason why BlackRock recruited me was because I had a strong background in athletics, and I had a strong sales background. Right, I was fortunate and unfortunate. I mean, it kind of created my story, but I dropped out of college when I was 20 years old and got into timeshare sales, and I did very well for a young kid. Right, but anyone could get a job in timeshare until COVID started, and I took an entry-level sales job to help my family. It's what they needed. Then ultimately, after I helped them get back on their feet, I went back to school and finished my degree. While I was in school the second time, I sold Cutco knives. Any new person out there can go and get a job selling Cutco knives because it's a complete volume play, right? But I didn't just sell Cutco knives to sell Cutco knives. I sold 50 grand worth of Cutco knives in my first 4 weeks, right?
Wow.
I hit it hard as hell. Now, Cutco knives, they tell you that the business model is to call your friends and family and start selling them knives. My family had just lost everything. We lost 2 houses. We lost 2 cars. I didn't have friends and family to sell knives to. You know what I'm saying? So what I did was I asked my sales manager for a list of everyone who had bought in my area over the last year. And then I did service calls. And I said, hey, I'm Jonathan Reed. I'm this kid who's going to come over and sharpen your knives. And I get college credit for sharpening your knives. What time can I come over? They're like, oh, come over at 5. And then while I was there, I would upsell them into different knives, ask them for referrals, and we ended up winning President's Club in a matter of 5 weeks.
Let's go.
It was stupid. It was fun. I was a 20-year-old kid just wheeling and dealing knives, and these housewives would just throw parties and be like, "Oh, this was so much fun! Can you come over and tell all my friends that?" Like, hell
yeah, of course I can. It sounds perfect.
But point is, that's why BlackRock recruited me. So I'll throw the question back at Larry, and I'm throwing it back at Larry because I don't know your sales background, Michael, but I'm curious to find out. Larry, how did you get the job at Salesforce? I'm sure something happened.
Experience, man. Experience. Yeah. And I'd love to actually get your thoughts on that because it's something that I've seen, and I think there's such a mismatch in the market right now. Is the challenge that I see in the market is a lot of junior salesmen coming out of a course and thinking they can go from overnight not having any sales experience to getting inbound calls.
Yep.
And there's a problem with that because it's just the view of what is it that I want as a sales pro and not understanding the cost and the benefit it has for the business owner.
Yep.
I had the philosophy that my offer with Greg is I am in partnership with this guy to help him and his team grow. And I cannot just look out of it as what commission am I getting, but what do I need to do to help our whole team grow? Because as the sales grow, there's more leads. As more leads come, more closes, and it just is this positive feedback loop. And so the way that I kind of think about it, and for anyone out there that's newer, right, this is how I would tell my former self is you got to find that offer and you got to find that business that's in alignment with where you're currently at in your skill level. Yep. It's kind of like martial arts. I don't know, Moose, if you've ever done like jiu-jitsu or any martial arts or any karate.
I would like to. I haven't, but I would like to get into jiu-jitsu. I need to.
Right. What it is for anyone who like isn't familiar with it is there's a belt system in jiu-jitsu and martial arts.
Yes.
One of the biggest things that I had to get a real reality check when I started jiu-jitsu was no matter how badly I wanted it, no matter how great I thought I was a white belt. I was not going to beat that blue belt, brown belt, or black belt. And a lot of sales pros think they can become a white belt and start taking on blue belts and purple belts Like,
dude, yes. It's a great analogy. It's a great analogy, right? They're like, well, I learned from a black belt, so I should be a black belt. Well, no, you shouldn't. You have to level up, right? And all good salespeople started somewhere. I'm sure if Salesforce was your first sales gig, you probably started out in an outbound role, right? I started off in timeshare, which, if you don't know, literally people come on tour in timeshare because they get a $200 gift card. The tour starts with, hey, I'm not here to buy anything today. I'm just here so I can get my $200. Can I please leave? And then you have to turn around from it.
Right.
It's one of the hardest sales processes in the world. And I went to door-to-door sales, right, at Cutco, right? Like, you have to level up because you went through a training. It doesn't give you the foot in the door that you need to advance your career. But if you do want to start off in this space and you don't want to do something door to door, you don't want to do timeshare, obviously COVID, blah, 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 right? You could start off as a setter. There's plenty of setter roles where if you work your ass off and you're a professional, you can advance your sales career in about a year.
Can you talk a little bit more about, like, what is a setter role, or like what do you consider a setter role? Because honestly, I feel like in a lot of the sales programs, they don't talk about that skill set at all.
Yep. No, you're spot on. And it's funny because a lot of people will reach out to me and I'll be like, hey, like, you're not qualified for a closing role, but would you take a look at a setting role? And they're like, no, that's beneath me. It's like, what the hell? What do you mean that's beneath you? You've never sold a thing in your life.
And also, just a note about, for anyone that's like considering possibly becoming a setter, I know setters that are making more than some salespeople are because of the way that they've set up their gig and how good they are at setting up the sales call. So it's just like, it's not to be discounted. It's not like, oh, like, that's not important because it's not a closing role. It's like, that's actually one of the most important pieces of the sales process, is that setting of the appointment properly. I mean, so sorry, go on.
I would say it is the most important part of the sales process.
Yeah, for sure.
Mark and I, we always have a joke, right? In this industry of enrollment sales, it does not matter what you're selling on the back end, right? If you can get deep enough into the pain on the discovery, then no matter what the solution is on the back end, if you got the prospect to admit that pain to you and their honest pain, whatever the solution is, they're going to buy it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what a setter does. So to answer your question, what is a setter? There's a couple different roles for a setter. There's outbound setters and there's inbound setters. Outbound setters is someone that I look for who's brand new, who's hungry, who's going to go in and work their ass off, right? That's me in my Cutco days, right? That's what a setter is. Okay, their job is to call a triage list, which is usually made up of people who are disqualified applications, people who did not fill out applications, people who did not schedule a sales call yet, and your job is to figure out why they haven't scheduled a sales call. It's a pretty simple pitch. Hey, this is Moose from coachingsales.com. I see that you didn't fill out an application. Was that a tech side? Was that a tech problem on my side, or did you purposely not do that? Like, what's going on? That's how the pitch goes. You can knock out 20 of those a day, right? By dialing 100 dials in a day, or, so it's a pretty simple process. From there, you get a sales call booked onto your sales team's calendar. From there, there's also what's called an inbound SDR role. Inbound SDRs are for people who have some sales experience, but maybe they haven't really found their groove yet in sales, right? Maybe they've taken a course, they've landed a sales gig, but it hasn't been hot yet. The inbound SDR, they're still getting inbound leads like a closer. You're just doing a 15-minute triage. You're figuring out, what their financial situation is. Why did they book the call? Are they there to waste your time, or are they there to make a transaction, right? The analogy that I always use is that if you think of a salesperson as a striker in soccer, an inbound SDR is more of like a goalie, right? While a striker is there to put the ball in the net, the goalie is there to stop the trash from getting past, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
So that's really the role of an inbound SDR. And like you said, the on-target earnings can actually be just as high as a closer because you're usually talking to more leads to send them to more than one salesperson on the back end.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have Louis Ray in house with us who came to us over a year ago. He's like, I've got no experience. I need to advance my sales career. What can I do? We jumped on an interview. I loved him. He became a setter. He became a setter lead from there. From there, he built out a setting team, and now he runs his own setter offer, and he is pacing 300 grand this year.
Wow. Louis is the man.
He is the man.
I love that guy. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I haven't talked to Louis in probably several months now, and I remember watching his progression go from like setter to setter lead, all that. And it just goes to show, man, you don't have to go into an advisor role and think that's the only like position that you got to take on. There's so many different ways that you can take this career.
There's more than one career path. Most people just think that it's, setting, closing, maybe a manager until I make enough money to break off and create my own offer. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. There's so many different routes that you can go, especially in this industry that we work in, where the businesses are doing 30 to 150 grand a month usually, right? As you scale out the business, different organizations are going, or sub-orgs are going to populate within the primary organization, and you can create a career path for yourself in that.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
oh man, I just had something on the tip of my tongue and then I lost it. Oh man, I don't remember. Oh, I was gonna say, so with these people, so let's say that you're someone who doesn't have a ton of experience, but maybe you went through one of these courses. Maybe you didn't go through a course, but somehow you ran into your group, 7-figure sales pros, right there. And they were like, "Oh, I want to do that."
7-figure remote sales pros. I think there's another one called 7-figure sales pros.
I gotta fix it, bro. Oh my goodness, I can't.
You're right.
I can't do it, man. Remote sales
Remote
pros.
sales
Oh my goodness, there are too many groups. All right. Well, just go to Moose Reed. Go connect with him. And
I'll send you the link.
Yeah, perfect. And then, so let's say they want to get started, and they're like, so what do they have to do? Like, how should they be qualifying themselves to these influencers or these coaches, these consultants, and like just being very upfront. Like, let's say we have someone who's cool, down to earth, and is like, hey, I don't actually have experience. I want to get some. What do they say? Yeah. How do they really, because a question that we got, and a question that we've gotten before, is like, why should I hire a sales pro that has no experience? Like, how do I take on that risk? That's from the business owner, right?
From the business owner side, they shouldn't.
Right.
And what a new salesperson always tries to combat that with is they say something silly. They'll be like, well, how do you know that I'm not going to be the best salesperson ever, right? And I'm like, well, I hope you are. And I honestly do. Like, I hope that when I disqualify people, they're not thinking that's a personal attack on them. It's literally these business owners have hired me to find qualified salespeople. Right. So the business owner shouldn't hire someone who's brand new. Puts too much risk on their ad spend. If they're buying leads or buying calls for $100 a piece, and the person goes 0 for 10 because they're inexperienced, they've now lost $1,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they shouldn't hire someone who's new. Now, the way a salesperson should start off, if they are brand new, well, if they come to me first or my team, we're not going to put them in a position where they talk to a business owner who's like, oh, you have no experience, so you're disqualified. If we put them in front of a business owner, that business owner is going to expect they have no experience, and they're going to understand why they hire them as well.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it does. It does. And I guess my question more for like, if someone wants to get that setter role, how does someone approach as a setter?
Yeah, they just come to me or someone on my team, and they follow up multiple times. Yeah. Because first of all, like I mentioned, if they reach out to me today and I don't have any positions to fill, I might not get back to them today. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times guys will be like, oh, you must hate me. That's why you didn't answer me. Why? How do I hate you? You messaged me hello. Like, I don't hate you. I don't know who you are. So follow up multiple times. That's why that's the first round of the interview process, right? From there, once something pops up and I'm actively recruiting for it, we will get back in touch. If I don't get in touch with my team, because they will get in touch with you, right? And then just let them know, hey, I'm new. I'm looking to earn my stripes, and I promise I can outwork everyone else who's in my situation. And if you actually can fulfill on that, then you can prove it through the interview process and prove it once we get you hired as well.
Right.
There's so many different routes to go from there. But there was a setter who we hired 3 weeks ago who is hitting 600 dials a day.
Wow.
Right? It was something stupid. And the point that I'm trying to go is you don't need to outwork everyone to you don't need to hit the most dials to say that, hey, I hit the most dials, right? I had another setter on that same offer who would dial 100 dials a day, get 4 set appointments every single day, right? And versus this guy who was hitting 600 dials a day and would book 0. Like, there's no compensation for hitting 600 dials a day and doing 0. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That doesn't help.
Yeah.
So,
and to touch on that, Moose, because you said something that kind of like, made me think back to my days, which is kind of like this idea. It's like when I am applying for a new gig, right?
Yep.
That's my first sale. Like the way that I'm following up, like you said, the way that I'm like really showing up to these calls is the biggest indicator of how to sell on the phone. And I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls that I kind of see from some people who reached out to me is like, I asked them, how many times did you follow up with Moose, or how many times did you follow up with that influencer? And they're like, I only contacted him once. I was like, okay, well, what if you were in that position and you had a deal that didn't close? Like, are you just going to stop following up after one time?
Yep.
Like the mentality that people need to come with these interviews is, one, have an understanding for the influencer, right? You don't want to come in like think you're this big game, and then you gotta, I love it when this is a tangent, but I love it when sales pros go like, I need to find my client. And
oh man, literally the worst thing. That pisses me off to no end.
Right?
Not a client, that's your boss.
That's your boss. And that's the thing is like people come in with such the wrong demeanor, and they're trying to have this shtick and this kind of act. And it's like, no, just connect. Just like go through a natural sales process and like, is there a fit here? And like really assess that. Is there a fit here? But you don't need to come with this shtick and think you're the hottest thing since sliced bread.
Sliced bread,
right?
Yeah. I think the exact question that you asked, Mike, was how does someone present themselves in a way to land one of these roles, right? Well, it starts with their profile. When they message us, if their profile is something crazy, then
disqualified.
Then we're not going to respond, right?
Right.
I'm not even going to say the guy's name, but someone sent me a message the other day, and his name was absurd. And he was like, "Yo, I'm going homeless. I need a job. I would do anything." If he had a better Facebook profile, I'd probably help him find something, right? But because his profile was crazy, I was like, nah, I don't think so.
Right.
And I'll go into this, right? The answer to that question is, why do people buy these offers, right? It's because there's an irresistible offer at the end of it.
Right.
Right. I don't like to tell this story too often, but to give you my background, right? I went to Florida State, right? In 2010, I made the Florida State football team. I was a walk-on football player, and that was my dream since I was 9 years old. The only dream that I had was to play football at Florida State, right? The semester that I played, I played one game. It was a spring game. I had a tackle. They announced my name in front of 50,000 people. It was like a Rudy moment, right? It was really cool.
Right.
Next semester, I went home and found my family living in a hotel. And I grew up my parents did very well, right? But we lost everything in the 2008 recession, right? So without any sales experience, I had to go and get a sales job. And a setting role, which makes a couple of dollars per hour, was not going to cut it for me. I had to do something where I was going to make a strong income out of the gate, right? So I walked into a timeshare office. I dressed up well. I didn't wear a suit. I dressed up like a 20-year-old kid would, right? Like polo, slacks, etc. I said, dude, I sold myself onto the Florida State football team, the best football team that there is in the world. I'm 194 pounds. I was playing against guys who were 240, and they ran a second faster than me, right? I swear to you, if you give me a shot, I can sell timeshare. I don't know what timeshare is. I can't spell timeshare, but if you give me a shot, I will learn how to sell timeshare, right? A couple months later, 6 months later, I was the top producer on the floor, and that vaulted my sales career from there. So point being, every salesperson, no matter who they are, they have that unique value proposition, that irresistible offer. I can't tell them what it is because it comes from them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that blends really well into just that, like, every experience that you have as a human being attributes to how you perform in any role or job or position. It's like, it doesn't just start when you took that course, right? Yep. But if you took that course and the 4 years prior to that, you were working as a sales professional in, at a car dealership or at Best Buy, whatever it is, like, you actually do have sales experience. It just needs to be tweaked or adjusted or, changed,
yeah.
And
even how you've done sales somehow.
Right. And even if you haven't done sales, like, have you done anything in your life that's worthy of, like, oh, this would be a good person to have on my team, right? Like, have you been a proven leader? Have you been able to, like, have you been doing logistics for events and coordinating things at a hotel? And now all of a sudden you're like, there is no coordination at hotels for events. Like, you might be someone who's really good for some kind of, online event sales or online event coordination, or, setting in that position.
And that's the thing is, like, what Moose, like, the thing that I'm picking up, and I'm learning so much from just talking with you, man. So thank you for sharing your story.
My pleasure, man.
It goes back to what you talk about. You showed up, you said, hey, I did X with this football team. I have never done timeshare, no experience, but I'm willing to learn. And that's the thing. Those are the traits that I saw when you're talking about it. It's like, you're coachable, you have hunger, and you're determined to do whatever it takes to win, right? Absolutely. And that means more than you having a certification on your profile.
Absolutely. Now, the thing that's ironic about that, right? Here I was 7 years into my sales career, and I see Mike Mark post saying, I'm hiring sales professionals looking for guys who are enthusiastic, hungry, blah, blah, blah. It's the same exact post that we use today, 3 years later, right?
Right.
And I reached out to him. I was like, what the hell is Mike Mark doing? Last I remember, he was selling timeshare. He didn't go through a course or whatever. He just evolved his sales career from the ground floor of OPCing, which is like even a step below where I started off in my timeshare career,
Wow.
That's literally just going up to, like, people on the street and be like, hey, will you take a timeshare tour? I'll give you $200. It's tough. Crazy.
Wow.
That's tough.
That's how he started his sales career. And he evolved into being this business owner of coaching sales, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
So point being, like, you find a way to make it work,
right? No
matter what it is. Relate your experience, however it is. Find that unique value proposition of yourself and sell that.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's so amazing.
The question is, that this is something I was just talking about recently, but the question is, what if you don't have a unique value proposition for yourself? What if you went through life just playing Call of Duty and eating Cheetos, and that's all that you've ever done? Right?
Yeah.
What do you do then? Life.
What do you do then?
That's where you create a separate persona for yourself, right? An alter ego. Right? Have you guys ever seen the movie Two for the Money?
No.
It's a great movie. It's a sales movie about sales and football. So it's like favorite thing in the world, right? But it's Al Pacino, and it's
really
Al Pacino, and what the hell is that guy? All right. That guy.
Oh, Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. Yep. Matthew McConaughey plays this college quarterback who got hurt. He was going to the NFL and he got hurt. So he finds himself in a sales career. Al Pacino hires him. And he's like, damn, like, I don't have this unique value proposition for myself. I'm just this normal dude who, screwed myself out of a football career. And he changes his persona. He's like, hey, no longer are you going to be Brandon Lang. From now on, I walk on fucking water, John Anthony, and everything that you sell touches to gold. He changes his persona, he changes his identity, and all of a sudden, his whole story changes, right? It's badass.
Wow.
So good.
You know?
So good.
So you don't have to be yourself if you don't like yourself, right? You can build yourself into the character that you're going to be.
Right. So good, man.
That's so powerful. Wow. Moose, we only have like 10-ish minutes left.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, is there anything that you would like to talk about that we haven't touched on today, or like a favorite topic that you're just like, if I get to share this with every single person I meet, then I had a good day, or like, then that would be good enough? Like, what is there anything that we haven't talked about yet?
Gosh, I should have brought something prepared with me. Guys, this has been a ton of fun, and nothing really off the top of my head. The biggest thing, like we've been hitting on the entire time, right, is if you're getting into sales, know where you're at, know what level belt you're at, and actualize where you are at. Don't actualize it by where you believe you're at. Know where you're at and know how to accept that, right? Know that this is a game that you're going to advance in. And if you enjoy it, you're going to become a millionaire. Like, it's part of the process, right? If you have the skill set of sales, you will become a millionaire after working in this industry. Right. But own where you're at, and then be willing to be the hardest worker in the room. Right? Hitters hit no matter what. I could put Larry on any offer in any situation, and he's going to make money. Right? A lot of salespeople out there are like, oh, I want something that's proven. I want something that is converting at 40%.
Oh, no.
First of all, when someone talks about converting 30, 40, 50, 60 and up, I've seen crazier. But when someone talks about doing that on the long term, it shows how little they actually know about sales. And that's fine with me. Right? So if you're looking for the golden goose that's going to shit out lay downs all day long, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Right? Find yourself an offer that you can work on, that you can coincide with, and give it everything you have. Dedicate yourself to it.
Yeah. And you and Mike Morgan actually talked about this, I believe, yesterday, when you guys were talking about so many sales pros are trying to find the top offer. Instead, there's like a lot of magic in finding offers where you can build with. Just like what he was doing in the past. And the analogy that he used was like, it's like finding like Apple stock or Google stock, like before it really hits its peak.
Yep.
You want to ride with that. And that's something that I've found with Greg, which is actually like so beautiful because, one, you learn so much just being a sales professional, being with a team that's growing, like so much outside of sales. That's one. But two, the opportunity, not only just obviously in commissions, but the opportunity to like connect with some really cool people. Because as you're growing, guess what? You're going to be connected with some pretty awesome people as well. And when you're part of that inner circle, instead of just sales pro number 20 on the roster, you really get exposed to that network as well.
Absolutely. And that, yesterday, like we were talking about, right? There's advantages to being that foundational sales rep. You never know what's going to be the offer that takes off the ground, right? Versus trying to work something that I've had sales reps who are like, hey, now that I've started working this offer, how long until you can get me to this offer? I'm like, first of all, I'm a recruiter. I'm not a whore, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
Secondly, let me give you an example. Trying to think if I should say names or not. I don't think he'd mind. Tyler Narducci, right? With the Done For You agency, came to us in March of 2019. He's doing about 10 grand a month at the time. Very small project to work on. I love the offer. I met Tyler on an interview, and I loved Tyler. Tyler was awesome as a business owner. I was like, dude, whatever we're doing, we can grow this thing together, right? Here we are 19 months later. He's doing 500 grand a month, right? He has a sales team of 6 guys, but if I didn't take on that offer because it was at ground zero and there were no sales reps on there, he wouldn't be doing 500 grand today.
Wow.
Right.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So
dang.
Hopefully that wasn't too far off topic.
No, I think it's golden. I think it's perfect because like there are so many business owners that need quality salespeople that are willing to put in the work and then be able to help the company grow to reach those 100K months or to reach those 500K months or more, right? And it's like, it's going to be impossible for you to get a role at a 500K per month company if you've not sold 100K, a 500K in your lifetime, you know? And so I think that that's right on point. It's like there are all these amazing business, like truly amazing business owners who are at that 10, 20, 30K mark that are starting to hire on sales pros that are going to, in the next 10 months, in the next 12 months, 18 months, are going to grow a lot and really, win. And then, of course, there are going to be people who are doing, 30K right now. And then in 6 months, like they mishandle things and they're still at 30K per month. Right.
Yep.
But
our minimum, our foundation is $1 million for a sales rep to work with us as a closer. They have to have done at least $1 million in sales.
Right.
And when I talk to a lot of guys who come from the certification programs, I'll be like, $1 million. Oh my God, it's crazy, right? When you think about sales, $1 million really isn't that much.
Not that much.
Like $1 million. If you wrote $1 million in a year and you're on a comp plan that pays you out 10%, that means you made 100 grand that year. It took you 2 years to do it. You made 50 grand a year. 50 grand a year is not by any means wealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
What $1 million shows to us is that you've stuck around sales long enough to get the itch for sales. You're not going anywhere and you're putting in the time to master your craft. That's why we put a boundary at the $1 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not because it's like, oh, $1 million is such a sexy number. It's like, no, we know that you're going to be here for the long haul.
Right.
Yeah.
You've gotten the commission itch, we call it.
Commission itch. I love
Commission itch.
Dang.
I love that. Well, if you're on here, go ahead, hashtag live, hashtag replay, hashtag Moose, the GOAT, Moose Reed.
Appreciate it, guys.
From coachingsales.com. Any last things you want to talk about, Larry? We still have a few minutes left. I just want to make sure that people know that they can get in contact with you on Facebook. You can join.
Yeah, guys. Feel free to reach out to me at any time or anyone on my team at any time. As a salesperson, like we talked about earlier, you don't pay anything for us to work together. I don't have a charge to recruit salespeople. Our clients pay us to find talented salespeople. Right. So if you ever are talking to a recruiter in the space and they're like, hey, you need to pay $5 grand to get started on a sales offer, that should be a sign to run away. Don't do that. Yeah. Right.
And that's the thing, guys, is if you are newer and you're really looking to like just dive deep into this, Coaching Sales and Moose, they're the team to follow, right? And that's me going through this process, because I remember heading into kind of like the online sales space, and all I knew at the time was freaking Dan Locke and what he was going on about. So it's not necessarily like, something that you can just go in by yourself. You got to get a team behind you. You got to get support behind you. You got to get the right systems, the right offer in place. And that's everything that Coaching Sales provides. So if you guys are actually like serious about that and really want to make this a career for yourself, like join the Facebook group. Like it's free. Like Moose's Facebook group gives so much value in how to actually go about getting this career path created. So let me get this right one more time. It's 7-figure remote sales pros.
Boom, nailed it. Thank you.
We'll leave a link in the comments below, guys. I don't know. Would you like to wrap us up? What do you guys have thoughts?
Moose, I just want to really I'm super grateful that you were here today with me and Larry, and I really appreciate you taking out of your busy schedule on a Friday evening to come and talk with us and share all of the lessons that you've learned. And I guess one last question that I have is like, what is something that you're extremely grateful for in the past couple days? Or
and when?
Past couple days, today. I don't want to make it too specific, but something that you're just really grateful for.
Something that I'm extremely grateful for. This industry has completely changed my life, guys. And so, damn, there's so many different routes I can go here.
Right.
I'm extremely grateful for this industry, guys. Like I told you, back in 2010, found my parents in a hotel. knew that I had to do something, got into sales. I was extremely grateful to get my feet wet in sales at an early age, right? Then to be able to transition into this world of remote sales, I'm extremely grateful for as well. I get to spend time with my wife. I get to spend time with my dog, right? I, I I own the house I live in, which is pretty damn cool considering where I was at back in 2010. You know, we're looking at getting an Airbnb property. We're going up to Georgia next week to look at some places. Like, it's pretty cool, guys. I'm so grateful for this industry. I'm also so grateful for the mentorship that I've been provided that's led me down the right way in this industry, instead of just being that fish that sort of flops around from offer to offer, right? But also, I'm very grateful for the sales reps and the relationships that I build within this industry. Guys like Larry and Michael, I'm sure you and I will get close over the next year or so, you know?
I hope so.
But I'm so grateful for sales reps just always reaching out to me and being like, Moose, like, you've changed my life. I can't believe how much this space has impacted me. I can't believe how much location independence I have. Whatever it is, I'm so grateful for the sales reps that get into this industry, work their ass off, and then change their own lives. They change lives. They change their situation. I love that. So I appreciate you guys having me on here. This was a ton of fun. And Larry, appreciate everything you do, dude.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man. And again, if you want to find, thank you for sharing that, Moose, really.
Yeah.
If anyone's on here watching or listening later on, connect with Moose, Reed, coachingsales.com, and 7-Figure Remote Sales Pros Facebook group. And if you end up working with Moose and you heard about him here, go ahead and mention us, High Ticket Sales and Facebook Groups Facebook group.
Yep.
And it's a mouthful. And other than that, go out there, put in the work, go out and contribute to the world in the best way that you are meant to, and see you on the flip side.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Talk soon.